Alright, welcome back. How's everyone doing? Are you guys enjoying your confinement? Your house arrest? By now, I feel like everyone should be pretty angry. I'm starting to feel it, I'm not gonna lie. Uh but this is your new normal. Just accept it. Just bend the knee. Anyways, what am I gonna talk about today? We're gonna talk about I'll talk about the virus for a second, for a few minutes. I'll start off with that just to get it out of the way. A lot of people in the comments section keep asking about Harry Dent. It's going to be deflationary. And then they're worried about the price of metals. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how this is going to play out, or how, yeah, pretty much how it's going to play out. Again, show you guys. I called it. I said in the past few weeks that we're going to get a rebound, right? Like a bull trap. And it's going to go a little bit higher than anyone thinks. The question is, will we make new highs? And I know it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Over 22 million unemployed. It's probably going to be over 33 million in the U.S. Globally, who knows? Who knows? China is trying to reopen, but apparently they can't fully. Anyways, I'll talk about that later. What else am I going to talk about? We're going to talk about the U.S. trying Japanification, because that's what they're going to try. But let's start off with this. I'll talk about the bad first, and then I will talk about the good. And these are my opinions. I know a lot of people don't agree, or some don't, but I'm pretty good at being ahead of everyone. It's funny though, because remember 3 months ago, I was making fun of everyone who's like, it's just a flu, bro. And now I'm the guy who's like, well, maybe it's just a flu, bro. But those people probably flipped, and now they're taking it way more seriously than I am. Listen, here's the bad. The bad is, they want this to be the new normal. You're going to pretty much lose all freedoms, what you had left. You know, you don't have to leave your home. Don't ever see the sun again. Drones will fly in from Amazon, deliver you crap you don't need, and food that you do need. They'll cut you checks just enough so you could eat and not complain and be out in the streets. And then they're gonna make money off us cattle, right? Forced injections, forced by I mean law, and you're not gonna be able to travel, right? If you don't have it, some sort of digital passport. And then the side effects, long-term side effects, probably bad. And this will be year over year. Who's going to pay for it? Don't worry. You're not going to have to pay for it. Of course you don't. You poor thing. The taxes will pay for it. So you're still paying for it. But they're going to make a killing off of it, and the long-term side effects, don't worry about that. There's no recourse. You can't, go after anyone. This is just what you have to do, because right now you're in fear and you're going to accept it. And if you get sick later on from it, then they're going to make money off of that too. And it's kind of like a global carbon tax, right? And everyone's going to take it. Even the people who work for the state, whatever, everyone, all right? Except like probably a handful of people at the very top. Um, Listen, this is why I'm really starting to question this entire thing. Now, here's the thing. I still believe, yeah, there is a real bug going around, and it, it is a weapon, or was being built as one. Was it accidentally released on purpose? I don't know. I don't have evidence. Either way, I'll take it. I don't care. I wouldn't be surprised, right? Either way. Um, but look, 2018, 80,000. 80,000 just in the US. This is global. It's at 160,000. US, it's around 38, 40,000 right now. Other illnesses aren't being recorded at all. They're just marking them down as this new bug going around, right? Now, some of you are thinking, yeah, but, the lockdown, all that, it's working. But as soon as we come off of it, it'll spread like crazy and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I had models and I had this software. By now, that software told me that like 1/3 of the US is already infected. Even now, let's take the lockdowns into consideration. Okay, tens of millions, maybe 20% already have it. Okay. And then what's going on right now has slowed it down significantly. Well, 20% is still around 70 million people. If it is as contagious as they say or have been saying, right? And we've been believing. Then it's literally around anywhere around 70 mil. Give or take 20 or 30 or something. Doesn't matter. Um well, 30, 40,000 people of that would be less than 1%. And then hospitals are getting some funding on in the back, in the background for all the cases they do find of the new bug. And people dying from other causes are being marked down as this now. So in the end, I don't care if it exists. If it does, it's already mutated to something of a common cold. Okay? Thank God. Good. That's pretty much what the data is telling me right now. It's not that serious. Listen. Watch this video. It's in the newsroom. Where is it? Watch this video. Or find it. It's really good, really important. An MIT doctor pretty much connects all the dots and you'll understand. And a lot of doctors have come out and said a lot about this and they're like, it's not that serious. Maybe it was and listen, I took it seriously in the beginning. I was like one of the first people who was like, holy crap, this is serious. But then again, thinking back on it, I'm not saying it was staged. It wasn't. It was all of that was really happening. But they have 1.4 billion people. So you could find footage of people dropping, dropping right there in front of you in the streets, this and that. If people are paying attention and taking videos. Or maybe it was some of that was, I don't know. Or maybe they got the first strand, which was actually the worst, and then the bug mutated to not be so lethal, so it could stay in the host and survive. You have to understand all of these bugs. I can't say what it is. they strive to survive in the body. So if they kill the host, then the strand dies off on its own. But the other strands of it that don't kill off the host become less lethal, kind of like a cold. Those do survive. So maybe the stronger, like I said, it's actually more likely that this becomes a common cold. That's what I said in the beginning. That's pretty much what I think has happened here. That's my belief. Could be completely wrong. I'm no doctor. But from the data and from everything I see, and then again, the test kits, they test for a certain thing, but that a lot of people have that and had it before all this. Like I said, watch that video. If you're not in the newsroom, find that video, stop the screen, and try. I'm telling you, it's really worth it watching that and listening to an MIT guy, okay? Like a real one, a real doctor. I think I've pretty much talked about that. And listen, you follow the money. Follow the money. And like again, I said, this does check off every checkbox for the ruling class to usher in some sort of 1984 like hellscape Blade Runner movie type world that they want, because that's their world, right? They're safe and they rule like kings while we're cattle and we're being, we're sheep. We get slaughtered. All right. And it's really because they're afraid of us, right? Now, here's the good news. What's the good news? All right. They pissed off 7 billion people. And I think they bit off a little more than they could chew here. I don't think this isn't going to work out like they planned. So imagine their plans, right? The Blade Runner plan. I can't say names, this and that, because this video will just get, But there's 7 billion people who are really pissed off. 7 billion. And I'm telling you, this isn't gonna work. When you drop the world into the greatest depression it's ever seen, there's no way in hell that fear is gonna trump anger in the end. And I know a lot of people have been, I know testosterone has fallen in the West, and it's from all the preservatives and the food and the water and your cell phone and soy, but I don't think it's fallen enough. I still think there's a lot of people left that are more than willing and getting very angry, especially once their livelihood, their businesses, their jobs, their careers just go poof. And then you're told you can't even go to the park. This is not gonna, you're gonna see, there was actually an article by one of the major publishers out there, expect civil unrest. Oh, it's coming. Oh, it's coming. Especially midsummer if things aren't changing. And, all the people who say Orange Man bad, I mean, he was just, today's press conference, he's literally pointing out, hey, they're trying to take your guns. That's very bad. They shouldn't be doing that. And then he was also going on the route of the chloroquine stuff, right? Which is an alternative to having to get injected year after year for the rest of your life. So you could say he's a puppet, this and that. I'm sure he plays ball with them. He has to. But, I still, I don't know. I really don't know, guys. I just see that he gives a glimmer of hope and confidence versus complete fear, okay? Again, because Orange Man is the president, right? A lot of the conservatives aren't doing hardcore like mobilizations, but they will against like their own like states, this and that. They're already protesting everywhere. So, and I mean everywhere. Every state has protesters in all of their capital squares right now. And this is just like what, a month into it? So, listen, the ruling class, the only power they have is fear and censorship for now, but that's going to alternatives are here and they're growing and they're coming. So have no fear, okay? Have no fear. And my my personal opinion on all of this, how to go about this the right way, is to everyone wears masks for 3 or 6 months, whatever, and life goes back to normal somewhat, as much as humanly possible, and everyone get back to work. All right. And if everyone wears masks, everyone could get together still go to the club with masks, maybe some neon green glow in the dark masks, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is, if everyone wears masks, then there's no excuses to take away all freedom and to lock you in your own home and implode the economy to the point where the supply chain no longer works and people start starving. Either way this goes, in the long run, this shows you the level of incompetence and the fact that you have to be more self-reliant and fuck fear, right? And I think the masses are waking up. Also, there's no sports ball, right? There's no sports. So people can't be, they can't go back and hide their heads into bread and circus. I mean, I guess you could watch all these shows, but they're so horrible. And all these movies, I can't even find a good movie anymore. Actually, I just watched Midway. That was a pretty good movie, I thought. Yeah, a lot of CGI. I don't like it, but I thought it was a good movie, right? There was no like, if you like action, thriller, war, historic movies, it was a good movie, I think. For today. Anyways, where was I? Yeah, listen, this is just the tip of the iceberg of the amount of anger. And you know what? This gave a sneak peek of the world they want to the normies, right? To your average Joe Sixpack. And even they are kind of like, yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this. And, even in Europe, everywhere around the world, I mean, at some point, there's a tipping point where everyone sticks their head out their window and they all just start talking about, I don't care about this bug going around. I'm not scared of it. I can't live like this anymore. And you're going to see maybe an overthrowing of the people at the top, right? Even the people on the right spectrum of the political spectrum and the people on the left of the political spectrum, even they could agree on one thing. We don't like hedge funds, banks, and monopoly corporations getting bailed out while we get nothing, essentially, because the $1,200 is basically your own tax money being given back to you. Even people below who don't pay income tax, I mean, you still pay every check. If you look on your statements, money's still coming out. Anyway, but it doesn't matter. You're paying. You're just getting money back. Anyways, you're getting nothing essentially. But Wall Street and all of them are getting bailed out essentially. And again, this checks off the box. We need an event to cover it all up because the correction was coming either way. I was anticipating it late 2019. It was coming anyways. So this was a perfect cover up, let's say, to blame it on this. Meanwhile, it's really the market was so weak, it's such a bubble, it was going to happen anyways. So I'm done talking about this. Alright. So people keep bringing up, hey man, we're going to get deflation. Harry Dent, Brett Johnson, and a bunch of other YouTubers are talking about this dollar shortage globally because it's a giant revolving credit bubble and everyone borrowed a bunch of dollars. There's more dollars outside the United States than inside, and that's going to cause a strong dollar. And at the same time, this is a deflationary type of event because, well, people are losing their jobs and they're going to save money. They're not going to spend money. I agree with all of that. That is all true. That doesn't mean that it's long term, and it's more about timing this. And I do believe that's happening right now. The dollar index, DXY, is pretty strong, even though that has nothing to do with the price of metals. We're still going to get stagflation. We're already starting to see a little bit of it. Listen, it's a little complicated, and I guess it's hard to understand when I only talk about pieces and parts of it in all of my videos. I'm going to try to put that all together in this video without charts, really. Listen, we're still going to get stagflation because there's going to be less goods. The global supply chain's broken. Countries are hoarding goods like food and other goods, and there's going to be less goods, and there's going to be more fiat chasing less goods. Well, how is there going to be more fiat chasing less goods if people aren't buying things and saving? Well, honestly, they're doing MMT, right? Modern monetary theory. They're going to be cutting people checks like all the time now. Unemployment, people are getting paid more on unemployment than they were when they were working. And eventually they're going to feel comfortable enough to start spending again because they're still getting paid. They're just not working. And when you're not working, you're really bored. So a lot of those people will do the wrong thing and just start spending again and buying things they want to keep themselves entertained. Or who knows, if you're smart, you'll build a small business or some sort of side gig. If you're smart, most people aren't. But so the velocity of money will pick up eventually when this all blows over and people feel good again. I don't know when that's exactly going to happen because I don't know when they're going to let off the gas on this fear mongering, basically, that's going on by, all the mainstream. So I think once people really start going into the streets and start ignoring all the fear and this and that and really start protesting like hardcore with a lot of anger, I think by the way, that's another reason why they do send out these checks like the 1200. They'll do more later and give people generous unemployment is so they do follow the rules and stay in their homes and they don't go out in the streets. That's one of the pitchforks, right? But it doesn't matter. People don't want to live like this, especially in the summer when things get hot and nice. Like, everyone's going to be like, the hell with this. And I think they'll let off the fear, right? And then spending will probably pick up. Energy prices will go back up again. And I think he's going to lead the world out of this back to somewhat of a normal world where people are going back to work and traveling and this and that. I think that's his plan. Is he going to be successful? I don't know. Listen, even if this bug going around, right? Even if it was more dangerous than your common cold, so what? Vulnerable people wear masks, stay home. If you're healthy, go about your normal business. You'll be fine. I guarantee you, so many people have this by now. If it's even as spreadable as everyone thinks, maybe it's not. I don't know. But it pretty much seems like I just showed you some data. It's not. It's not. It's not really bad at all. Um, it's not, okay? Because according to their data, there would have been like 2 million deceased, right? By now. It's not even 200,000. It's 40. And I said that, what, 2 weeks ago? I said, it's probably going to be around 30, 40,000. That's nothing. That's like your typical data. It's typical. Like, this is what it was in 2018, 17, 16. There is something going around, but I don't know. Anyways, but listen, gold prices and silver are going to go up even if it's a deflationary environment, because stocks are still near all-time highs. Matter of fact, I didn't bring it up. The FANG index hit all-time highs ever Friday on the close. Now, I told you guys that's how they keep the markets up. That's how they manipulate them up, because everything is in a basket of the FANG indexes. So weighted, it's like 20% of the entire stock market is the FANG stocks. And if they go up, they drag the indexes up. Indexes are a basket of like hundreds of stocks. And then it raises everything up higher. And that's how they manipulate it. BlackRock is the one distributing all the stimulus and deciding where it goes. Well, it's in their best interest to get the markets back up and higher. Why isn't this coming up? I have to find it so I can show you guys some visuals. So the Fed's mandate is they can't buy stocks, and they're not yet. And maybe they won't because this is a conspiracy. I have no proof or evidence, but I wouldn't be surprised, through Shell Corps or BlackRock, whatever, they're doing that. Actually, who said that? Someone said the FANG index was at all-time highs. It's not. It's near all-time highs, but it's not quite all-time highs. I heard that on a podcast today. It does have a 9 sell, though, and it's probably going to pull back, especially with earnings now coming out that are going to be horrendous for Q1. Just wait until we get Q2. They'll be even worse than Q1. And I'll talk about that related to where the stock market's going to go. Can they reinflate the bubble and make stocks go all-time high like Venezuela or something? Or are we going to get a nice correction? Anyways, let's get back to the... I know I'm going off topic here. Let's get back to deflation, stagflation, gold prices. All right. So foreign companies, entities, sovereign wealth funds, even countries, they need dollars to service their own debts. But when it comes down to it, because they're also going into like the 1930s style Great Depression, are they going to keep chasing dollars, or are they going to sell bonds to bail out their own bank institutions and companies? I think eventually they're going to just throw in the towel and sell U.S. Treasury bonds, whatever they're holding in their reserves. A lot of them have been doing that, actually, as of late, and the Fed goes in and buys it. That'll dump the dollar. The DXY, you're going to see the dollar then weaken, and that would actually spike rates, which will push down the U.S. stock market as well. And the multi-decade bull market in bonds will break when they start doing that. But the Fed will come in and they will print trillions upon trillions. We're currently like at 10 trillion now We'll be like at 20 pretty soon. Um, and listen, they're going to keep printing because what's the alternative? The alternative is a deflationary depression. They can't. They're not going to do that because the politicians don't want it. Because that's when the pitchforks come out. Because that means more and more people are going to lose their jobs. Like when you have 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10 people working, it's the power structure completely falls apart, right? So they would rather bail everyone out and sacrifice the currency. They can't have the boomers and their 401ks just disappear and go poof. Because that's what'll happen if we have a deflationary depression. The everyone's retirement, pensions, everyone who works for government, they all lose everything, and then they will go into unemployment as well. They'll have all government employees will lose all their jobs as well. So they'll rather print and have stagflation, inflation, than everyone loses their jobs, right? Also, the US does want to keep the world reserve status as long as humanly possible. The only way they could do that is to bail not just the US out, and all the institutions, all the pensions, all the states, everyone under the sun. They have to bail the world out. So they will meet that credit demand globally, and the U.S. central bank is technically going to become the world central bank. Now, they're doing this behind the scenes through currency swaps. That's how how do you guys think the other world central bank, the IMF, right, and the World Bank and all of them get dollars? Well, the Fed prints it and then gives it to them through currency swaps or whatever they're doing. I don't even know. It's above my pay grade, but that's what happens. And then they have to reinflate not just the U.S. but the world debt bubble, which is, I don't know how they're going to do it. And here's the deal. As they do that, there's consequences. There's more debt because credit is debt, and so is the dollar. It's debt. And then the Fed's balance sheet just keeps expanding and expanding. This year's deficit spending for the U.S. Public sector is like $5 trillion. And then the private, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is everyone's been ignoring debt for many decades now. But at some point, except during after 2009, for a couple years, like the conservatives pretended to care about debt. But this time around, you're not going to be able to ignore the debt because it's so enormous. And at some point, it's so obvious that none of this is going to get paid back that the confidence game in all central banks all around the world starts waning, and people are like, well, if they just keep printing and printing and the debt keeps piling up, how's that ever going to be repaid? It's not. It's mathematically impossible. And that's when people go, well, I have to buy metals. Because if this never gets repaid, they can't keep printing. You see, the only way they still issue debt is that people believe that more idiots will buy it because they could keep borrowing. But at some point, once the confidence goes away, no one's going to buy bonds and treasuries. And when no one buys bonds and treasuries, the last buyer resort is the central banks. And how do they buy bonds and treasuries? Well, they print more. And at some point, maybe the stock markets will just keep going higher. But people will look at this and they will say, none of this makes sense. This is all insane. I'm scared. because I know that the central banks can't stop printing. They're stuck printing. They can't do anything else. That's the only thing they could do from now on. And once Wall Street and everyone realizes that, and a lot of them, smart money already knows, they realize it. That's why gold and silver is not going to go down. You're going to have pullbacks and dips, 5, 10, 15, 20%, but nothing more. I don't even think we'll see a 20%. So that's why they're only going to go up from now on in the next few years and decade. Also, like I said, I mean, these foreign entities, all central banks around the world are sort of stuck at doing the same thing. And it's because of currency wars. Now you have to understand that they're in the midst of all of this going on. Everyone still has their own best interests at heart. So they have to devalue their currency to keep everything moving, and because of trade imbalances. So if your currency is too strong, you can't sell anything, and if you have a negative trade balance like the U.S., that's very bad for the economy. Also, no country could go back on a gold standard if they have a negative trade deficit, right? If they have a trade deficit, basically. At the same time, so even in a global deflationary environment, metals are going higher. Now look at these charts. Well, look at this bar chart. This is around the Great Depression. The Great Depression was the most deflationary event in human history, or the recent, right? Modern human history. Gold went up in price. This is the price of gold, right? But it went up even then. It was actually the only place to be. And the ratio, so if you held metals, you didn't lose anything. It went up in value. And versus the Dow Jones, it went to 1-to-1 ratio. So before I don't have that chart up again, but doesn't matter. Why is this? All right, here's historical gold prices since 1833. I mean, it was stable in US dollars because the dollar was pegged to it, so it didn't really change all that much, just a little bit, tiny bit. And then we had 1913. Where is it? It's right here. That's when it started changing. Soon after that, not too, like 6 years after that, the price of gold started going up immediately. Why is that? Well, that was the creation of Bretton Woods and the central banks. But it was still pegged to metals, just fractional, it's more fraction. It wasn't 1-to-1. And prices have been going up ever since. Let me show you a better chart. All right, here we go. So, Great Depression started 1929, lasted till 1933, 34. Actually longer. But this is the price of gold. Okay? During the greatest deflationary event ever. What is this? Commodity prices versus the CPI. They've only been going up. So the prices of real things like commodities, energy, and material has been going up across the board since the beginning of human history. You see, commodities are the most finite things on the planet. These are the real resources that cannot be replaced with innovation. With innovation, I guess you could take resources and stretch them out longer, but with innovation, there's technically also more demand for commodities. And also, it becomes more expensive to mine commodities and extract them from the Earth's crust as time goes on, because the easily readable commodities have already been mined in prior past, and then you have to drill deeper and deeper, which costs more and more over time. Anyways, so here's the Dow Jones in 1929. Right about here, it peaked out, and then it crashed. I can't put up a gold chart because there's no data on any chart, really, software chart, that goes all the way back to the 1930s. Because back then metal was pegged to the actual currency. So there you go. I mean, I could try, but no, I mean, there isn't. I looked. All right. So back to what I was talking about. So they're saying there's estimates out there by Brett Johnson and whoever, 30 trillion in global dollar denominated debt. So the milkshake theory, right? So the DXY is going to go higher and higher. Sure, the DXY could go higher and higher, and metals will still go higher. Why is that? Because the DXY, the dollar, again, is weighted against other fiat currencies around the world, not metals. And the correlation between metals and the DXY, it's already breaking, but it'll completely break at some point. And you have to remember that if the dollar is becoming stronger and stronger, but globally every other fiat currency is weakening, that means that everyone else on the planet, except Americans, see the price of gold and silver rising. And what does that do? Well, that creates that FOMO effect, fear of missing out. It also makes people realize that their currency is being devalued, and then they go and buy metals to hedge against it, right? It's insurance. And what that does is it makes the price of metals go higher and higher despite the DXY, or the dollar strength versus other fiat currencies. And again, eventually you're going to see a lot of companies globally just default on their dollar denominated debt as time goes on. Now, another thing is, so the central bank is trying to avoid a Great Depression. That's like their number one concern for obvious reasons, right? Because that means that all the promises, all the entitlements, like your Social Security and pensions and everything, right? They're just going to have to say, well, sorry, it was an empty promise. We can't make... Everyone basically just loses their life savings. So instead of doing that and having that happen abruptly, I mean, they're just going to slowly devalue the currency and sacrifice it. Right now, the central bank is actually having a hard time keeping the dollar below 100 on the DXY. Why is that? Well, that's because of the Brent Johnson's milkshake theory. So right now, that's why Trump and the Fed, they're printing like crazy, but you're not really seeing the dollar fall versus other fiat currencies. At some point, that's going to stop. I don't know when. I don't think anyone does. But like I said, they want to keep it probably within this range, somewhere around between 94 and 100. And I don't know how long this is going to persist. But at some point, after they've printed tens of trillions, the confidence and just looking at the debt and the balance sheet, people are going to say, hey, wait a minute. This is never, ever going to get paid off. And then people are going to go to metals and they're going to dump bonds. And the treasury market is like 100 times larger than even, well, I don't know how much larger it is, but it's much, like, let's say 10 times larger than the currency market. Or not the currency, the stock markets. The currency market's even larger than the stock market as well. I don't know which one's larger, the currency or the bond. I'm pretty sure the bond market. Well, the funny thing is the bond market is the currency market because bonds are currency. And anyone holding bonds is going to say to themselves, well, why am I holding bonds if inflation is going to outpace the yield that I'm receiving for holding bonds? Okay. Also, velocity of money is going to pick back up once this bug blows over. And I think it will, especially once everyone gets really mad. And then velocity will pick up and people will think it's returned to normal. And when that happens, you're going to see massive stagflation. Stagflation is going to look like this. Your homes and cars are going to drop in value because they've been in a bubble and they've been propped up by this bubble. But everyday items like food, utility bills, even gases, even oil is going to go back up, guys. I don't know how high, but it can't stay this low for long. It'll return to somewhat higher. I believe the oil companies need to see over $30 a barrel. And again, that's not even adjusted for inflation, so probably over 50 in the coming years. So it's going to get back up there, and there's some awesome trades that I'm going to post. Well, I've already posted some in the private group for the private members. Anyways, for oil and energy. But anyways, when the velocity of money picks up, which I don't know when, probably it's going to pick up some this summer, and then next year and the year after, it's just going to keep picking up eventually. And once the confidence in the Fed and everything that's going on kind of breaks, people might actually start buying things to hoard for the long term. I've already started doing that, preparing for this crisis that just occurred, right? So prepping was an awesome idea that's going to pay off in the long term. I haven't cracked open my year supply of food. I actually might order some more later on. Anyways, and then, plant a garden so you have fresh vegetables because in the US, carrots and tomatoes and everything comes from South America. And, they might be later on this, flatten the curve theory, fear mongering thing at this point. So they might be staying closed a little bit longer. I don't know. Hopefully this all blows over in the next 4 weeks. So it's a confidence game, and I feel like the confidence is it's people are starting to question what's going on because you can't print you can't print 6 trillion in under a month and then keep doing that without even Joe Sixpack noticing that the prices are going up in the store, and you'll see shrinkflation. People are going to be mad at the bailouts for Wall Street again. You're going to see protests, civil unrest. That'll also drive people to buy metals. And that's part of the confidence game. People are also going to question the entire validity of the control structure, right? And the people in charge. Because they kind of screwed up this entire crisis event. Again, all we had to do was get masks or show people how to make their own masks, and all of this could have been averted. But I don't think they wanted to avert this because there's some seriously evil people at the very top here running things and trying to profit off of the cattle again. So the U.S. is going to try Japanification, right? Matter of fact, every country's goal is to become Japan, which is absolutely freaking horrible. Which means no economic growth for decades, and it's just it's kind of like just living in a depression forever. But you make just enough to get by and maybe not complain. That's their goal. I don't think that'll be the end game. Can they pull it off for a while? Yeah, maybe they could pull it off for the next 10 years or something. Um, it doesn't matter. People in the private group and the rest of us who are looking at mining stocks to leverage up, and people who buy physical will do fine in this environment, and we'll be able to take advantage of it. So mining stocks, right? Well, I think their quarterly earnings report. Well, their revenues are going to go up for this year, especially, and metals for the next 6 months look bullish. I showed you guys charts in my last video. Where was I going with this? What I'm trying to say is, this is why I don't think we're going to have a deflationary event for the next few months that's going to drop metals. Besides the technicals, I mean, the technicals are bullish for the next 6 months. But there's going to be so many more stimulus packages. And don't forget, QE is open-ended, meaning they're just going to, behind the scenes, keep bailing everything out. And the smart money knows that. And the only thing that is still undervalued is mining stocks. Now, again, consult your licensed financial advisor before doing anything. I could be completely wrong. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. And these are my opinions. I could be wrong. And this is more about learning how to trade. Now, my head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders, breakout played out perfectly, as I said it would. And not just that, I've shown you guys the GDX and the GDXJ. It's so undervalued compared to the price of gold itself. Okay, so this earnings going to be really bad, except for probably mining companies. Next earnings are going to be even worse for everything else, but they're actually going to be fairly probably good for a lot of the mining companies. Not all of them, but some of the larger ones. And that's going to grab Wall Street's attention. And this is playing out just like 2008, and they should go into a bull market. Not just that, I mean, their earnings and revenue, it's going to look amazing because $1,700 gold is not priced in at all. The mining stocks valuations are priced in at like $1,100 gold per ounce. And you know what? Silver is going to break out as soon as velocity picks back up. And a return to normal is attempted, or we will return to somewhat normal, right? Silver demand is going to pick back up. That's just that. Companies are going to notice that the price of silver is going to go back up. So what are they going to do? They're going to hedge on the futures market, and they're going to buy up physical, like companies like Google, this and that. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be selling phones like crazy anymore. No, they're not. A lot of these big companies are definitely going to suffer. Which brings me to, but let me show you this before I go to the Dow Jones and the rest. Where am I? I'm at 53 minutes. No one's going to listen to this. And then they're going to ask me questions about things I covered because they can't pause a video and come back to it later if it's too long, or they can't pay attention this long. And then they ask me questions that I've already answered in previous videos. You guys basically want 5-minute videos because you're stupid. The lack of attention span is directly correlated with your IQ. And all this digital crap, it shortens your attention span. Anyways, I mean, come on. It tested 1,800 basically, the price. And what did I tell you? For weeks now, I've been warning you. If it tests 1,800, we'll see a little bit of a pullback. And then maybe, well, not maybe, but it's already pulled back. And then what is that? Well, this would be a giant cup and handle. And what will that do? That'll shoot the price even higher. Not just that, people globally are FOMOing into metals globally because everyone's going into a Great Depression. And what did I show you earlier? Great Depression, very deflationary. What happened? Metals still went up. Because why? It's a safe haven asset. So, yeah, I expect all-time highs this summer in gold. And eventually silver can't ignore that. It's the poor man's gold. And people are going to think, hey, gold's hitting all-time highs, but look, man, it's already at 23, 2100. I can't, I can only afford 1 ounce. Maybe I should go and buy silver because because of the gold and silver ratio, and I could buy a lot more silver, and there's more upside to it because gold's already ran up. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And there's stocks that mine both metals. And then there's stocks that have business models where there's very low downside risk, but very high upside potential. And that's for the private members. Go to my website. We talk about them. Let's go to the Dow Jones. Here's another reason why gold might really go really high. Besides, there's also the futures market breaking, the paper futures market that pretty much suppresses the price. And once that breaks, I mean, it'll shoot to all-time highs and who knows. But here's the Dow Jones, right? This looks like the Wall Street cheat sheet, literally. Now, I'm thinking they want, so they, you know, Trump, Mnuchin, Powell, they want to reinflate this where it makes new all-time highs. But these earnings that are coming out now, and then Q2 earnings, and then the negative GDP, I mean, it's going to look horrendous, horrific. So, you know, this is what the free market wants to do. That's what the free market wants to do. They don't want that to happen. So they're going to print so much to stop this from happening. And, you know, we might make a new low. I don't know. We might make a new low. It wouldn't surprise me if we ended up on the Dow like around 16,000, 15,000, right? It wouldn't surprise me. And then more QE stimulus, whatever, and then they get the market back up. And then I don't know, maybe they'll keep it trading sideways. Maybe everyone will get too euphoric about 2020 elections or whatever, and then it does go and make a new all-time high because the capital flight into the US as well, that's still happening. But I feel like that's already been priced in because foreign markets have been doing horribly in the past few years. So all of that's probably priced in. So, or the free market might win. It all depends on the confidence game. If everyone loses confidence real quickly in the next few months, then yeah, this could actually happen. I really hope it doesn't, but it could. Anything's really possible. What I think is most likely is, again, my most likely prediction that could be wrong is, come on. Oh, it's right here. All right. Is this something like this? And if they do pull this off, this means we're getting Japanification. What I mean by Japanification is Japan's economy. Japan's economy, they've been printing money like crazy, but it's also been pegged to the dollar. But the dollar isn't pegged to anything. So that's why I'm saying pulling off Japanification isn't going to be like easy, or I don't even know if it's possible. They're going to try it. They might try it, and then maybe later we'll get this Actually, I think this is what's really going to happen, but that could be years down the road, right? But this is what I think is most likely. Can the stock market make new highs? Yeah, it actually could, but then stagflation is running really, really hot. And people are literally going into stocks to avoid inflation. And the fundamentals will be so detached from the stock price that it's literally insanity. And I don't see it doing that. I mean, maybe it'll make new highs, but not significantly higher, unless we literally turn into Venezuela, which I really hope not, because I do not want that scenario. People who hold metals and Bitcoin, they think they want Venezuela. No, you don't. You don't want that. Nobody wins if that happens. So I'm thinking it's going to be this. And then when this finally happens over here, when the market finally breaks, confidence is completely lost in the central banks. This is when your bonds blow up. The bond market blows up. All right, that's what I'm thinking. I think you guys get the idea now. Again, here's the gold-silver ratio. All right, guys. Crap, I'm already over an hour and 10 minutes. Well, I might as well plug. Go to my website. The knowledge that you will learn is way more valuable than the price I'm asking for. I'm undercutting everybody because I'm a one-man shop, and I don't. That's my business model. I provide more services for the price I'm asking for, and I undercut everyone. I'm kind of here for like the little guy, I guess. Yeah, you'll learn how to trade. I've done a bunch of research. I'm going to do more research. I've looked at so many things. I've done a bunch of reports. There's a bunch of smart people in there. We talk about trading and certain stocks and companies and everything, and not just gold and silver. We trade the markets as well and other things, and we go short, we go long, and you'll learn. It pays for itself. And then the monthly to stay in the group is $10. And as stagflation picks up, I'm probably going to raise the price to like 15, but that'll be later. It depends how fast we see stagflation, so it's definitely worth it. So check it out. Go to my website. The 220 is a one-time payment. Then it's $10 a month, and then you get an email invite once the next day for the private group. What else? Leave anything in the comment section. Smash the like or dislike. Share my videos. Helps my channel to grow. It's the only way it does grow. And I'll continue to do this. Leave in the comment section if what you want me to cover for the next topic. All right, guys. Until next time.